Hey everybody, Douglas Blair Roberts here, the Super Vader 400 and the brown skin Hewitt, coming back at you with another video cartoon intro remake review intro. This is the intro to various remade cartoon reviews and rants. For some odd reason, even though I did do this in the past, when it one of the Sonic songs I used has a copyright on it, and it's not a big deal. But if I ever when I decide to set this channel up, when I get eligible for monetization, I can't get any money from ads from the video, so that's why I'm just redoing it with two different songs that surprisingly don't have copyrights on them. This version is the same as the last one, except my clothes and stuff will be different, and of course the intro songs will be different. Instead of using what I'm made of, I will use the songs intros will be Weekend and Sonic's Back in Time. And for cartoons that do deserve a rant, or for videos that do deserve a rant, what I'm made of will be used as the outro for the various cartoons. So yeah, this is the intro to various narration. Part 1 will be narration. Second part will be season and episode webcam reviews spliced together in one video. Some of these won't go on all platforms. Yes, some of these will only go on YouTube, and some of these will only go on Facebook. So, with that being said, let's get started right now. Let's go back in time to when television and cartoons were great. everybody. It's time for my first retro cartoon block review. And as you can see by the title, we're looking at the USA Channel's USA Cartoon Express block that aired from 1982 to 1995 or 1996. Now this video right here was gonna be a joint video with the successor block, the USA Action Extreme team. However, I wanted to use two outro songs, so I decided to split both of these videos up. And I'm not going to go over every program, but if I were to go over all the programs or most of the programs on this list, the video will become way too long. So with that being said, yeah, this is the USA Cartoon Express block, and according to Wikipedia, I could have sworn it was Nickelodeon, but this is the very first children's cable television channel, predating both Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network by a decade, according to Wikipedia. I could have sworn Nickelodeon was the first, but I guess because they were a pay to watch channel in the 70s, that's why this block right here is considered the first. And this block right here is pretty much prototypical. This block is pretty much prototypical Cartoon Network and Boomerang. It's a version of what Cartoon Network and Boomerang would become within the next decade. Some of their programming would later show up on Cartoon Network when Tuna Broadcasting inherited their programming, such as the Hanna-Barbera shows of the Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, the Jetsons, Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, the Smurfs, the action adventure shows like Space Ghost and Johnny Quest, other obscure properties that I never knew about. Well, one, Willie and the Chopper Bunch, that looks familiar, but I don't remember that. And then you got the Inch High, Private Eye, and Dynamite Dog Wonder, which I definitely remember those. And then, of course, going back to the Flintstones, you have the spin-off of the Flintstone shows, the Pebbles and Bam Bam show, my opinion, the best version of the Flintstones right there. And then other 80s shows such as Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, Real American Hero would appear on the block. Even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 80s series would briefly become a regular. This show bounced from channel to channel back in the 90s. Also, the video game cartoons, Captain N and the Game Masters, the underrated sequel to the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, The Adventures of Super Mario Brothers World 3, and the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog also showed up on this block, as did other shows like Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling series, the Superman and Batman Adventures series, and even the Denver the Last Dinosaur show, which I've not heard of, which I've not seen, but I've heard of. And of course, what was that other show? Oh yeah, Voltron even made an appearance here. I was really shocked to see Voltron was here, and other shows like Dino Saucer, which I've heard about and seen bits and pieces of. She-Ra and the Prince of Power, the female He-Man, set in the same universe as the He-Man show, also showed up here, as did Mr. T. Mr. T. And then, of course, in the 90s, before they scrapped the block altogether, they came up with their own original shows, such as the Itsy Bitsy Spider, which I've never heard of, probably have, but probably just don't remember. The Problem Child, which I haven't heard of, and then a show I did discover in the mid 2000s and started watching for the first time in the mid to late 2010s, and that's Highlander, the animated series, a super awesome underrated 90s cartoon, in my opinion, one of the best cartoons ever. They even showed numerous Christmas specials, such as the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special, the very awesome Sonic Christmas Blast Christmas special, which I just recently watched, which was used to promote the Sonic 3D Blast video game. Then you got the Smurfs Christmas special. They also had the Smurfs Halloween. And the Fat Albert and the Christmas special. Fat Albert and the Cosby Shows was also here. Even the Mr. Magoo Christmas special was So yeah, this block was awesome. It was Cartoon Network and Boomerang before there was a block, and it was because of increased competition with Cartoon Network and many other Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and Disney Channel, and many other channels that this block what's his name? Cartoon Network, the one thing they had over channels like this was that they were 24 hours. They were 24 hours, and while Cartoon Network didn't have much of a budget, they had a higher budget than these guys when it came to bumpers. Their bumpers were a couple of previews from the show you just watched, which was pretty cool, and several kids riding bikes, a boat, and the most common bumper was a train called USA Cartoon Express, taking the kids to the theaters to watch and see all of these great cartoons I just mentioned. I'm gonna play the audio in the background right now.
Yes, it could! Let's get up and jump for joy!
With the comedic, over-the-top, hyper-overactive announcer.
The Wonderland Zoo, so we can visit with our zany bear friends, the Hair Bear Bunch, and then on to more outrageous bear shenanigans with Yogi. He's got fun on a Hollywood lot. Whoa, excuse me. Shall we do what? Well, welcome aboard.
By the way, the bumper you listen to in the background is from 1985 through 89. To watch this, the link will be in the description box below, but you can find it on here if you type in USA Cartoon Express.
Lots of steam, so believe me, we've got action, we've got adventure that's just gonna make you beam. So keep your eyes a watch, and let's keep score, because we've got fun that's really gonna soar. Let's jump on board the bandwagon and celebrate. We just can't be late. Oh, no. We get a rare mix of pomegranate stew on the one and only USA Cartoon Express. Why, it's Huckleberry Hound and friends. We gather together the best of the best. They're all our very special guests. Don't crowd me now. Move away. I was just getting to the introductions. Pixie and Dixie, Snagglepuss, Pokey Wolf, Yacky Doodle. Doodle with a paper and pencil, please. This is the finest crew that can be found, so take it away, Huckleberry Hound. Welcome aboard, Express fans. It's spectacular. It's out of sight. It's out of this world. And I know you've just been waiting for this great day. And time is just ticking away. So let's not waste another minute, because you're riding on board the USA Sunday Cartoon Express. And now it's time to visit the best super crime fighting hero in the land, Hong Kong Phooey. So let's check in on Henry, who solves the crimes. Gosh, I knew it all the time. All aboard! A-L-A-N. Oh, that's the name that rhymes with gallon, but sure is a lot of water. Plug up that hole, Baba Louie. Si, Senor Cartoon Express announcer. Yep, we need some more bananas on this here train, because we're going to see
Your copyright for this, but if I do, I will do it without. I will do this video without this, without these commercials playing in the background. Yeah. So yeah, those were the bumpers. Once again, to watch those, the links will be in the description box below. Now, before I get out of here, some final words on USA Cartoon Express. I've always wanted to watch these blocks, these various cartoon blocks that were in they were in the 2000s too, but the ones in the 90s and the 80s, the ones in the 90s and 80s were way better. Were way better than the ones in the 2000s decades. I always wanted to watch these blocks, but because I was too young and didn't own my own television at the time, didn't own television at the time, I kind of missed most of these blocks. A lot of these shows I would later discover on VHS, or on various streaming sites like YouTube and other downloadable streaming websites and Wikipedia decades after their original airing. And by the time I did get my own television, most of these shows were kind of off the air. And then, well, I'll save that for when I get to those other cartoon blocks, when I get to those specific cartoon blocks. But this was USA Cartoon Express. Like I said before, I thought all of these other short-lived children's blocks were way better than the Cartoon Network. When it came to programming. But Cartoon Network, the one thing Cartoon Network had over its rivals, Disney Channel and Nickelodeon, was firstly, it was 24 hours. This is the one thing they had overall, which caused, as a kid who loved cartoons more than live action, hated when the stuff for kids went off and the grown-up stuff came on. As a kid, I always hated that. What's funny now is I miss blocks like this, but now I have the streaming services to watch this stuff 24. I have the computer and streaming services to watch this 24/7 now, and now I'm clamoring for what I had back in the 90s and early 2000s. But now we're here in the WitchCon. I technically have it all 24/7, which is what I wanted back then. I hated how all these shows were just on for several hours in the weekdays, in the weekday mornings and afternoons. Then Cartoon Network had that over. They had 24 hours. They had a bigger budget for even more bumpers featuring their characters, which were more exciting than the actual shows themselves, and got you hyped to watch these awesome shows. Then they had that, so they had a higher budget despite not having a budget at all. They had those. Actually, it was those two things when it came to programming, especially original programming. Cartoon Network up until 94 and 96 and really 96, all of their programming was borrowed from previous. All of their programming were leftovers from previous channels. Their first new shows were Space Coast Coast to Coast and Space Coast Coast to Coast and Cartoon Planet, which were new shows that showcased animation from older shows. Your first actual realistic newest one was Dexter's Laboratory. It consists of newly original animation. Dexter's Laboratory, Powerpuff Girls, Johnny Bravo, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and Cow and Chicken. They are the Cartoon Network OGs. I thought, okay, Johnny Bravo was still cool, but I've always thought that all those classic shows Cartoon Network had, Space Coast Coast to Coast, Cartoon Planet, and the various original programming on the rival channels was way better than Cartoon Network's new shows of Dexter's Laboratory, Cow and Chicken, Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, Dexter's Laboratory, and Powerpuff Girls and Courage the Cowardly Dog. Johnny Bravo, in my opinion, is still the best of them. It ended way too soon, and his long do for a comeback, but that's another video for another day. So yeah, this was my review of USA Cartoon Express. The real life superhero review will be in the real life superhero part 2 review will be in the description box below. That will be webcam, and also in the description box below will be the next block, which was supposed to be part of this video, but that would have made this video way too long, and that is the much superior USA Action Extreme block. Yeah. So with that, you don't want to hear the rest of the music, turn the video off right now.